stopped down at the bridge,
Yeah.
got directions.
Yep.
The guy at the bridge told him to go take a left.
Welcome, everybody. 6:30 is the time. This is the select board meeting. We'll open it as per usual with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Roll call. Dave Hemingway, Chair of the Select Board.
John. Well,
Marlo Herrick?
John Clark.
All right, rules and procedures, we don't really have anybody here, so I'll go ahead and skip those. And announcements.
I just have a quick announcement for the town clerk. Dog licenses, the due date was April 30th. However, the month of May is a grace period and no penalty will be assessed if you register your dog during May. Starting in June, the penalty will be assessed. It's $1 every additional month. Yet after July 10th, unregistered dogs will be turned over to the police. Not the dogs themselves, but
How about children?
people that,
They're taking it.
they're not taking it. And then there's a civil penalty, so, the clerk, and she's sending out some more notices, she works very hard to keep that to a minimum and not cause all
And
this
last year was
stress
our
for
first year
someone.
ever without any. Do you happen
didn't
to
have
know
any.
what the number is this year? That they're looking for still?
She has more open still now than she did last year this time, I'm not quite sure of the number.
Okay.
But, and if your dog, if you have a different status, if you've lost your dog or something, please call the clerk's office and tell her. So she knows, and that's all I have.
All right. Do we have announcements from either of the chiefs?
I think it's pretty quiet. Do you have anything?
I don't have anything at the moment.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'll just let you know your light is on your phone,
Thank you.
so you don't kill a battery. Any other announcements from the board?
Nope.
Okay.
Keep on
So
keeping
that
on.
moves us into appointments. The first of which would have been Chris Shadler and Salt Shed.
I received an email,
Okay.
a short time ago from Chris.
Mhm.
And she says she will not be at the select board meeting tonight as she has another talk in Vermont, and that has been on the books for a while. What she wanted to talk about was the salt shed, and I can either read this or I can let you read it.
Sure, go ahead.
A few months ago, I attended a select board meeting when both Emmett and Marlo were there. I was concerned that nothing was moving forward regarding the salt shed and was told that Emmett and Marlo were working on a design for the new salt shed building and the siting of it. I was told that my job would be to consider how the current site could be rehabilitated, salt and sand pulled back from wetlands, etc. I am wondering how close Emmett and Marlo are in their half of the project. Have they found someone who could put up a salt shed, and when? Will the new shed be ready before the snow flies? I regret not being there, but would be interested to hear their response. Chris Shadler.
Well, we can, we've done some homework and, we're getting places and, we can talk about that when we come up. Or I can talk about it sitting here,
Whatever you want, Dave.
however you want to do.
It's, come on up, the department heads are next anyway, so come on up and let's talk about it. I know that it won't be before the snow flies that we have a building, even if that could be built, because we don't have the funding for it currently. We, I believe, will have the funding to do the clearing and the road to get up to there, depending on what the site
The only thing that
design.
oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
But, yes.
Can I just say something to that? And I was thinking about it when, well, me and Emmett have kind of talked about this and looked at it. I think the important part would be, I would not do much more construction until we are ready and have the money to do the building. And the reason being is, you'll end up doing things twice. You know, you go in there and you clear it and you get it all ready, and oh, the building's gonna cost this, we're not gonna have the funding for 3 years, let's say, worst case scenario.
Sure.
Maybe 5 years, I don't know, this is not a cheap venture by any stretch of the imagination. So, doing anything prematurely, getting a road up there and having it, you may end up causing to do more work later. And it may, I mean, maybe we could discuss that, there may be some things that we wouldn't worry about, having to redo. But until you have an exact plan of what you're gonna do and how you're gonna set it up, I would be afraid, even at my own house, I've done that.
So when should we expect that?
Well, I think what we were talking about, and he's been doing quite a bit of research and keeping me in the loop, but the fact is, we gotta find out what exactly, is what would be sizable for this town, within staying in some kind of budget. And in the meantime, what the other stuff that you may wanna do on that site may be, so that you do a little bit of planning. If you said, okay, I'm just gonna do fictitious.
Yes,
Okay, you say the word.
fictitious.
Timing. So let's say, we say, okay, we've got a number on the salt shed. This is what we have been recommended, as he's talked to, and he'll clue you in a little bit more about who he's talked to and what they think that we may need. Okay, so that's gonna be, let's just say, a couple $100,000, right?
Okay.
And then, in the meantime, as you talk about someday making this more of a super site, in a sense of, where you may have your town sheds and stuff like that, you'd wanna make sure that you kinda, well, all within budget, without trying to spend tons of our money. You'd also wanna kinda figure out, all right, here's the layout of the land.
Yeah, in the future, if
In
it
the
were to
future,
be something.
yeah, because you go start doing a little piece here, and I don't know if anybody's done that in their yard, but we have. Oh, let's just do this. Oh crap! Now I did this, and now it's going to cost me more money because I should have done this. So I think that should be a major stepping point on. And I think the other big thing is to get some more budgetary numbers so that we know as a town and what we'd be getting into money-wise.
Perfect segue, since she said that you were starting to get some of those numbers from talking.
Well, numbers not quite. Kevin King, he's a taxpayer here in town. He's worked for the state of New Hampshire pretty much his whole career. He's getting ready to retire. I've worked with Kevin on and off on some different projects that we've done, and he's always been there for me. And they've built a lot of new salt sheds around the state in the last 15 years. I did talk to him at a certain length about building them and different things. There's no cement involved, it's all wood and tar. There's no membrane, they don't use a membrane underneath there like I thought, because I'd talked to some people from another state. But about a few things a few years back, a guy that I knew, but so that's a positive on the money side. Most of the buildings that they've put up around the state, they built themselves. They have the plans on the buildings that they put up, but when I asked him, well, what did this building cost, what did the one in Bow cost, and he said, well, Emmett, I can't give you a price because we do most of our own work, the people that work by the hour from us, when we get together and we build one and we have our own equipment and stuff. So total cost, he said, what the cost of the building is, I can't help you with. And then the folks and that's one type of building, and the folks that put up our building, they put them up, Maine, Vermont, Massachusetts.
When you say our, do you mean
The hoop
safety
house.
building? Okay,
No, the
at
hoop
your
house,
place.
at the Susan's Horse.
Your personal home?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's 60 by 156, 30-something feet tall. They build them for the different states, salt sheds and stuff. And I've talked to him. I'm not saying that's what you wanna do, because there's other things to do, but he would be more than glad to come down and I did this one here and this one here, and this is what this was, and this is, and he could put a cost with a building like that. The other buildings, I mean, we're not gonna build much more than what we have across the street. It's gonna be the same, it's gonna be to put sand underneath, but it's gonna be, I mean, that's 3 bays. And, you know, the next one you built would be 9, because the sand, the idea is get your sand in underneath, let it drain out, dry out, and, and so that it's not getting wet. But it's not, it's not, anything special of a building. It's a shed. But you gotta have the height, you gotta have the pitch, because we have to shovel that one. We've shoveled that many a times in 4 or 5, 6 guys, a couple of days. It's quite a project. So when we build the
Now
next
you're talking
one,
about the roof.
the slope, the slant.
So you're talking about another roof or structure like you have, where the snow comes out?
Yeah, yeah, so there's 2 different options, and,
What about the style that's also the hoop, but is more metal based, that like many of the state structures use?
yeah,
Have-
we've
have we
looked at
talked
them,
any of that?
over, there's kinda like that, the one in Franklin, that's fairly new. I don't know if it's a
That's
hoop,
new.
but it's goes,
It's pretty high.
it goes up, because they have to dump the trailers in
Yeah.
there, but, Kevin, I haven't got up there yet, but he said there was one, what is it, the New Hampton exit, the state shed up there. He said I should look at it. I went to Bo, Marlo's been to Hennecker, and checked that one out.
Canterbury's got a good
Yep, Canterbury. In every highway garage that you talk to, theirs isn't big enough. They, you know, I wish it was bigger. That's what you hear all the time. You just don't,
Yeah, because we put a bunch of ours in and then it's not big enough because you're trucking in
well,
through.
right. I mean, we, on an average year, we put 3,000 yards of sand out. Sometimes 2, sometimes 4, but on an average, 3,000 yards. And
How much actually fits in that?
maybe 600-700 yards, if that. Well, no, there's only 2 bays because of the salt, so yeah, probably 500 yards
Okay.
at the most. So then, when that gets low, the sand's outside, and then, I mean, last year when I put it in, there was 30 inches of frost, so you'd move 6 buckets of frost in snow to put a bucket of sand in the shed. It took all day to do what you shouldn't have had it done if you had the building it was under. So we have started looking, Marlo and I have talked, I don't know how many times. One day I bugged her so many times I didn't know if she was gonna answer the phone when I called back, but she always did, and, and I mean, unless somebody throws a wad of money in front of you, not to prolong anything, because if it was, but I can't see being up there much quicker than 5 years.
So when you say wad of money, roughly how much do you have a feeling that this is gonna cost?
Well, it all depends on how much you're gonna do. It's like Marlo said, I could go up there, hire Jimmy Foote to go up there with his mower and mow that all down, which it needs to be.
Oh, sorry,
because-
I was talking about the structure. 'cause
Oh, the structure?
That's what you've been looking at
Oh.
the most.
I'm not even gonna, I mean, I don't, I'm not a builder. I go to the lumber barn, then and buy a 2x4 and I go, oh my God, how, that's crazy, but, the stuff they use today is all laminated, so it's stronger. And I couldn't even tell you what a piece of tin costs for the roof. I know it's not cheap.
I think we were trying to get what the design seemed to make the most sense. And I think we should have a couple, because,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
as a townsperson, we might not even agree on which structure
Is
is
the right
right,
one.
is the right one. So I think we definitely have talked about and are gonna be working on getting the pricing to see what, would best facilitate what we need, which, you know, Emmett will be able to tell us, and maybe some different options. So I would say we're still kind of in that phase of, figuring that out, and
What-
then,
When do you think we'll be mostly done that phase?
Well, if you folks want to set up a meeting for the people from Calhoun that built our building to hear their story in where they've done different projects, I mean, that's affordable, that's why we did that type of building.
and longevity and all that kind of stuff to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And then maybe we should also look into, which I think we've talked about, something like that, and that's something that may have a longer lifespan, but, may cost more money.
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
is what what we talked about.
Yeah, and it's like Kevin said, the main thing with your sand shed is the very back, you've gotta have it's gotta be solid.
Right.
It's gotta be solid, and some of them they build into a bank, but the ones they build into the bank, that wood's gonna rot in 25 years, because you can't.
They'll use pressure treated wood, right? And that's
Well,
gonna rot.
pressure-
even then.
pressure-
Well, even then,
Right, so,
yeah.
still rot.
Pressure treated wood will rot, pressure treated wood will keep the bugs
No, I
out.
get that.
But,
Yeah.
so, and then he sent me some pictures on another one that they built that they lined with rocks, riprap to hold that up, to hold it so you're not pushing it over, because you're always pushing against it to get your stuff in, so we talked to quite a length, and I got a bunch of good ideas from him, and he said he'd do whatever he could to help.
Structure like you've got, would I envision that it would be a building where you could come in from both sides? So some of those other factors you wouldn't have to worry about.
No, on the sand shed, you would put that so the opening is headed to the south, so the wind is gonna go over it, and you would only have one tunnel into it. Because if it was open, it would just blow through, and that's, you wanna keep the wind off and that, the snow off the back. It's like the one over to Warner. The one over to Warner is, that's crazy long. That's gotta be 150, 100 feet long, and it's not real wide. But every time you go to get a bucket of sand and it's all the way to the back, it's not scoop dump, it's, it's quite a ways in and quite a ways out, but about every highway garage that's owned by the town, there isn't a one that's the same.
Okay.
So,
So what is the best way, in your opinion, for us to move forward and make the decisions so that we can start moving forward? Because we will have a fairly large size bucket of money that we can decide what to do with coming at next town meeting.
so what we need to do is measure up the size building that's gonna suit us, and lay that piece of paper in well, Cam Lorden's a builder in town, he's on the firehouse, he's a taxpayer. In his hand, in whoever else's hand that you,
Well, I think it's a good idea to do like a building like that, but, you know, I think,
Yeah.
we're talking a couple different structures.
yeah,
And that's really what we got to just get together and make sure it's the sizable one. Then we probably could put a rough, what it might cost you to put the dirt part together.
Yeah.
I can help do that,
yeah,
you know, and what it would cost and the cost of the pavement and that, we can get that. So, I don't know, maybe another, I mean, you gotta wait for people to get stuff back to you. What do you think? What?
well, this is May,
Yeah, already it's almost what, the
yeah,
seventh?
yeah.
Sixth?
Yeah, the 4th of July meeting, that's 2 months. We'll spark up your life with some numbers, how's that sound?
Okay. And if you need our assistance, Dana, myself, et cetera, bringing people in so that we have an actual meeting here with them,
Yeah, you just,
be more than happy to if that's gonna be
I
helpful.
can get a hold of it.
If that puts us in the way, no, but if it'll actually be helpful,
Oh, it
then
will.
yes.
What I'll do is I'll get a hold of the gentleman and see on a weeknight, see if he can come down, or maybe we'll have to see and put a work,
Oh, the work session?
work session or something in place.
Mhm.
I don't know how he I don't know the
Right.
situation. Time he drives down and spends the night at the motel,
Yeah, I mean, we could,
and then we can,
I think what's important is to figure out what size exactly, in which, is what we started doing for
because
research
that's
a
what we're
little
gonna have to
bit.
ask everybody.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's not just the, let's say, 4,000 of sand, it's also however much of salt.
yeah, it's gotta be a bay for the salt.
Is that something that you envision that you would need to refill, or is that like once and it's done and you're good
What do you
for the
mean?
salt?
refill.
Because you're saying you use one bay for salt, which you do
Yeah.
now, do you ever have to refill that?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
oh, yeah.
So how many bays would you actually need of salt in the new one?
Oh, just one.
I mean,
Make it big.
refilling your bay of salt is not, I mean, I watch
Yeah,
it happen in the
That's
States.
true, that's not as
Oh my
big a
God,
deal.
and it all depends on what you use, and so, you'll be like, oh,
And you
here
don't-
comes so-and-so with the salt, you know, cause.
And you don't want,
You don't want lots
well,
sitting there.
well, you can't with my budget.
Yeah, well, that too.
You can't.
You don't wanna buy what you
only-
need.
You only buy it, I only buy it actually when I need it, and that's not a whole lot.
I think the reason that it's not an undercover is just to keep it, like he was saying, dry
Well,
and
dry.
mixable and,
To do winter sand right, is you get a stacker, goes up a conveyor, 60 feet, drops down the center. You put so many yards of sand to a half a ton of salt. And then just keep doing that, and then you have a percentage of salt with your sand, so it doesn't freeze. And with the stacker, you're not driving on it with a loader and packing it, because when you pack it, it pushes it in and it freezes harder. To do it right, you do it with a packer, but, I mean,
Stack.
a stacker, but, I mean, it's all money. So we do it the way we can, but,
that's all most of the towns, but you're just saying, really, to, if you know, accuracy and, and, utilization of it is,
But if you're spending, like you pointed out very clearly, you're spending all this time going in, putting it in, going in, and then you look at the stacker, that would cut that probably, correct me if I'm wrong, down about a quarter of the amount of time.
yeah,
Or less.
yeah, Yeah, because you just, that stacker, you just keep loading it, goes up, then you put it into one bay, pull it into the other, and, you get another third material in there with the stacker than you do with the loader, because you can only go so high. But,
Or you've gotta get the height, so when you get a large amount of salt, the bigger trucks come in, coming up with the dump bucket. Correct me
yeah.
if I'm wrong, right?
Well, no, the salt, I mean, when they back in with the trailer dumps over here, they can back in a little ways, but not all the ways, and then you push it in, which isn't a big deal.
I
But,
kinda do that at the state too, they have like a big pusher,
Yeah.
push it up, I mean, it's not mixing it with sand,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
difference,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah, but,
It's a major project.
well, to do it right
Right.
and cost effective, but I, don't,
And the variable of what you might need for salt, that's all over the map.
Yep.
yeah,
Right, depending on
Like,
winter.
yeah, so, we don't wanna,
because we use a lot of sand. I mean, we do
Which is
use more
awesome.
sand, and we do use a little salt mixed with it, with the blacktop. That's why our roads, you get the Concord and they're black, you get the Bosquen and they're black. Ours take a little bit longer to get black, but,
hey, they're grippier.
yeah,
That's a tale of deciding what is exactly, because back in the day when we had that nice cold weather that we used to have, they didn't even really need salt like they do now, so.
But you also have some environmental challenges that you have to deal with too, I understand, right?
here and there.
Yeah,
Yeah. Try
No,
to
no, the
take-
state throws anything down.
No, I'm just being supportive.
So we'll
Yeah, right, yes,
we'll give that some more effort, and Marlo's been great working with me on that, and, we'll get you some, updates. I'll have Susan get a hold of the man that she worked with on our building, because we talked to him not too long ago, and he said he'd do whatever, because he'd do whatever he needed to do if we needed help on our sand shed part of it, so.
And not to pry, but if I were to spitball a guess, or for something similar to what you had, are we talking, we're probably talking north of 200, right?
Well, I'm gonna be right down honest with you. Susan takes care of the bills, and I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you if that was 40,000 or 240,000, and you're probably looking at me and saying, well, you're a clueless, but
It's
she
the
wanted,
cost of a happy
she
horse life.
wanted the building.
Yeah, exactly.
And she got it.
We'll call you the happy horseman, how's
I
that?
went, yeah, so, but I honestly can't, I mean, and we
Okay.
did all the site work, and then they did the rest, but, and then we hired Pete to come in and trim it all in, and the electrician just put the lights in last week, so, but, yeah,
And it would be a little bit different than from that
Oh, yeah,
anyways, yeah,
yeah.
so. yeah.
But just trying to get like
A rough
a
estimate,
rough
yeah.
feeling of numbers.
I mean, in my mind, it's gonna be, like you said, it'll be north of 200.
I mean, if,
It just
my,
didn't seem
my
like,
expectation, because we're not quite sure what the structure would be, is that probably somewhere between 250 and 5 is probably an accurate guess.
well, I mean, I would say, but I don't know either, so.
well, I would say the building and getting the road up there and stuff, maybe pushing 5, but I mean, it's all, I mean, it's like, and it's like I just told you, I'm not even sure what a piece of tin or a 2x6 costs. Without just taking a deep guess, but, I mean, it's just a shell. And the tar is gonna be cheaper than cement, because cement, last I knew, when I bought it a year ago, was $150 a yard. Tar is $88 a ton, last year, and 50 cents.
You don't want concrete, you're gonna put salt in it.
Right, no, it's all tar, yeah, that's how the state does all this, so, it's just a shell. And it's not, no finish work, no.
So you get us some sizes and
Yeah.
then let's talk to some people and get some
Yeah.
quotes. See, even if we have just a rough estimate, then the a rough estimate of, well, that'll be in this range, will tell us whether we can actually expect that we can finish it next year. I expect that we will actually be able to have the funding to build the building next year.
And I think somebody mentioned, one of you, to keep the expectation of where you put it, because you're gonna wanna build more.
Yeah, you
I
don't
know
wanna
you
put
get
it right dead in the middle, because
Right.
when you go up there and build your nice highway garage there someday, or, whatever, you wanna get it tucked in the corner, so it might cost a little bit more to landscape that and bring it up to grade and get it all set to put your building out of the way, and then the
you
years
do it
down,
right once.
then the years down the way, and it's facing right, so the sun's going, and the wind's going over it in that direction, but, yeah, so I think we're moving forward, and Marlo and I'll keep plugging away on it, and, like I said, I'll get a hold of the gentleman that we worked with, Susan worked with the building, and, see if we can set up a visit with him.
Perfect.
And even if he comes down and just does his spiel and we go a different, at least we looked into it. And then we'll, measure up and see what we do need for yardage, square footage for the yardage that we have.
Yeah, once we have an idea of what
Yeah.
size, that, we'll, we can get that together
Yeah.
too. And then kind of have an idea of what you'll need to get up there.
Yeah.
Perfect. Any other comments on salt sand shed?
I think I wore it out.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into department heads then.
Go for it, you already started.
Okay, on the fire side, we've been pretty active, pretty busy. We're at 71 calls, for service. We've got a couple of new members. The background checks have all come back and cleared, actually 3 that have come back that Phil did for me. When he gets back, I have another gentleman that needs a background check done, so there'll be another member joining
How many is that, Emmett? How many members do you have right now?
without,
Yeah. But did you have around 20? 18 to 20?
16,
Yeah.
16, 18, I could look.
Well, no,
yeah.
I just think that's pretty impressive,
Yeah.
that's all.
Well, it is when
For
they're all
us-
here together.
Right,
I
well,
mean,
in a
but-
small town,
Yeah,
is what
but
I was.
when everybody's at work,
Yeah.
but, so, we've done that. They had quite a fire on Chase Farm Road there the other day. I took our new tanker down, pumped water. That had a couple of issues, so the folks from E1 in Maine came down and picked that up, the day after, took that back, and they're getting the problems that I have worked out. I talked to them today. They're hoping towards the end of the week, the beginning of next week, we should have it back. But we still have the old tanker that we can rely on, in place. Last Sunday night, we had a report of a garage fire. Got there, the back of it was well involved. Engine 2 pulled in with a good crew of 3. They knocked that fire down with the first 1,000 gallons of water. Mutual aid came in and, in the surrounding, help from the towns, and, had a real good start. They all did a great job. And after that call, we had 2 trees down, and then a medical call before midnight, so last Sunday, a week ago Sunday, was a busy afternoon. Then we've had a few medical calls through the week. Trees down, we've had a bunch of rotten trees, ash trees, we've had a lot of trees down. Not fire department related, because we didn't get, there's no wires involved, but Saturday night, we had one on Tyler Road, in the White Plains Road, I went out to help with.
There's chunks of limbs coming
Yeah.
down all over the place.
Roby Road today, the great big pine tree by Mike Jones's, the top of that broke down. I mean, that thing's huge. We had to take the loader over today to push that out of the road. Yesterday morning, 11 o'clock, we had a gentleman coming from Salisbury into Webster. Yeah, Warner, lived in Warner too long. Had a medical emergency, struck a pole. Came around sideways, took a huge oak right in the driver's side door. Thankfully, I know his brother, I got a hold of his brother, met him at the hospital. His brother called today and thanked us, gave me an update. So Salisbury came down and helped me with that, with their rescue. Optic ambulance came over, and that went well. It was a good outcome for the gentleman. As bad as the vehicle was banged up. I have talked to Jeff Eel, the fire chief from Kentucky, about our agreement. He was on vacation last week, and he's on vacation again this week. So when he gets back, he has all that stuff together. He's gonna get that all together and have his board sign it, and then bring it over and have you folks sign it as well.
Okay. Nice.
So, I've,
Good job following up on that.
Yes.
yeah, so,
I think it was an extremely wise decision to keep that old tanker. You've heard me say that once, if not 5 times.
Absolutely.
But here we go, and
Here's another good example of
an
why.
extremely good example, and
well,
I'm just saying that.
the.
You and
that-
your staff keeping that as a practice.
That tanker is a 99, we did some work to it a few years back, it's in fairly good shape for the year it's in, because of the people wash it and take care of it, and everybody does a good job. That tanker was bought by the insurance company in 1999. There was a gentleman, he was the deputy chief, I won't mention any names, there's no need to go back that far. He had an accident, rolled the old tanker over that. I'm pretty sure the town of Webster bought from the town of Loudon, what was it, $2,500 or $35?
61K2.
Yeah, you used to drive it.
I used to drive it.
So, I don't know, they bought it from Loudon for $2,500 or $3,500. Am I in the ballpark?
Somewhere.
So anyways, so they were going to a motor vehicle accident, motor vehicle fire. It might even been the day the cop car the cop car. Was that it?
I don't remember.
So the truck got rolled over and got totaled, so that was back when the insurance company had on the fire department, we had 100% replacement on the vehicle. So the insurance company bought the town that new truck, so the truck hasn't owed us anything its whole life. So that's the history behind the tanker. It was built up the Valley Fire.
Well, and like any time, y'all need backup. I
Yeah.
mean, equipment
So-
is equipment, and it may not work.
It's gonna break.
Yeah, it just does.
Yeah,
So,
and the newer it is, the more unliable it is. We all
at
know it.
times, yes.
And that's
Fact.
not being negative about your new equipment, I think you did a great job with that, but I'm saying, I think the decision of you and your staff to keep that truck for the backup purpose, because you're gonna need a backup. at some
Yeah,
point, you know?
yeah, so, and,
But he does have a good point, because when we
Oh,
all,
no, yeah.
we all buy new thinking,
Yeah.
we think, whoo, you know, you spend that big dollar and and
Yeah, but-
and the old fighter's running and the new one's sitting there, and any of us have been through
Well,
that.
it's thinking me on the curve too, you know, had this situation the other night occurred and you didn't have that tanker there,
Yeah,
it would have been 1,000 gallons of water you wouldn't
yeah,
have.
Right.
yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah. So,
Pretty- It's a good example anyways.
very good example.
I'd be happy to see the extra one on Little Hill.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
so, yeah, we, last Wednesday night was the off night, we did a bunch of maintenance and dubbed around, the folks came around and, yeah, no, it all,
Do you have a meeting this Wednesday?
yes, this Wednesday is, the first Wednesday, that's gonna be truck check. And then this month, training is extrication, we'll bring a couple of cars in, and cut them apart. So last month I attended the chief's meeting in Bow, and the warden's meeting was at Globe Manufacturing, and we got a tour of Globe Manufacturing where they make the fire gear, which I'd never been in, and there's a lot of sewing machines in there. It's quite a place.
Pretty cool to have one right in New Hampshire, really.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, they gave us a tour and, yeah, no, it was neat, you know, to see it's made right there. Start to finish. So on the road, yeah, fire, anybody have any questions before we move on? You know, we did have a few, high wind days, but the rain took care of that, put the damper on that, which is good. Yeah, so actually, yeah, Jamie went out last week, a couple of days, Wednesday and Thursday with a grader and touched up a couple of the roads. A gentleman called from New London Drive and asked if we could come down and scrape that out, which that was, it gets a lot of traffic down there, and, so we got that touched up, and he went out about a day and a half last week, and, Russell and I worked on some winter sand down to our pit, town pit on Dustin Road, piled up maybe a couple of 1,000 yards, I would say. We got screened out, and we started hauling that back over today, seeing it was raining, and, get that back over here piled up. So other than that, the folks on the bridge are coming along. They poured 80 yards of concrete a week ago, was it Friday?
Yep.
Not a week ago Friday.
ago
So
Friday.
now they got the forms up higher on this side. And today they finished pounding the pilings on D's side. Tomorrow they're gonna break the big rocks, and then Wednesday I'll go down and haul all that stuff off for them. So, great bunch of guys. And they got a young lady down there, she works hard. She don't stop.
I've seen a couple of them down there.
Yeah.
When we take walks down there.
Well, there's one young lady and then another one with long hair, he ain't a lady. But he's a good guy. They're awesome, they're good kids, they work hard. And Billy the boss, he's cool too. So, it's coming right along.
Just because she was on the agenda, and I know she would ask the question about now, for Chris, I know in the past it has been, it just doesn't make any sense, but has been requests for things like running a street sweeper of some sort to collect and get rid of some of the sand that goes out. Is there ever a time where that makes any financial sense? And/or is there what makes it make more sense or less sense for road maintenance and shoulder maintenance and ditch maintenance versus not?
For sweet street?
Yeah, so we've put lots of sand out during the winters, and then, of course, there's lots of sand on the edges and stuff that eventually works its way into your drainage ditches and gets cleaned out every few years and stuff, but like, at what point does it make more sense to clean it up versus let it wash off like?
Well, you can do anything if you don't, if you have the money to do it. We've just never had the money in the budget to hire a sweeper. I mean, I don't even know what it would cost for the day, but, I mean, I know it all gets washed in the ditch, but, I don't really know. You can do anything if they wanna spend the
So
money.
I guess my question is, I mean, granted, there's some times that you don't get much rain, but like even the rain we just have gotten. and-
They can't be,
It's,
I haven't
it
seen,
does kind of, some of that old,
There's no-
some
It kinda got
sweeping.
washed.
Yeah,
Are there certain areas where there's certain areas where you point, there's certain areas where we should consider it, I guess, and I'm sure for many reasons we haven't done it, and that makes a good point too, but I mean, are there certain areas where there is a question as to what it is doing, I mean, what is the problem with trying to, I'm not being controversial there, but I know what you're saying, but, I mean, how serious is the problem? Is it not just washing off to the side of the road, as Emmett's saying, and dissipating, or is it something that it's going into somebody's ditch, or it's going into, you know what I'm trying to say? Is there a problem?
yeah, what was
see, because
behind the question?
I have a broom, I don't know how many thousands of dollars we paid for it, that goes on the front of the IT, on front of our backhoe, that's got all brand new bristles and stuff on it, and if the corners or something are bad in the spring, I'll go knock that off. But what little bit of dirt,
Yeah, that's clearing versus, yeah.
you know, you push it into the ditch, but, or a lot of times if we get done ditching, if we ditch with the grader, which we don't ditch with a grader a lot, because we just put it into the truck with a excavator, it's cheaper and cleaner.
Dave, I guess, I'm not trying to think for you, Emma, but, or ask a question that, I guess, what, do you know the reason behind the question of where, that you had thought that she may have asked?
So in the past, the reasons that I remember are when it hasn't done lots of rain and there's been lots of sand all over the streets, then that has been a bit of a complaint, but of course, eventually it will wash away. And
Well, and every year is
the second
different.
one is that a lot of our drainage ditches, the end result is going into a river. And so from the conservation standpoint, that was one of their concerns as well. I don't know the details of it, I just, because she was on there, I remembered that that was a common question, so I
You're
thought I should
gonna-
ask it.
The sand we put out in the winter, and what you're gonna pick up in the spring, I don't even know if it would be 1% of the 100% that you put out that you would pick back up at the end of the day.
Much is not much there.
I know a couple of years ago, they were all wound up about the road had so much sand on it and all this and all that, but it was Tyler Road, it's a state road, and, I mean, they don't do that. The White Plains Road is state to baggies.
And with the state, they're gonna include plenty of salt in that sand too.
Yeah, and the state did come over through the other day because Marshall called me to see if they could dump the sand at the sand shed. And you go over there to the sand shed, and I don't know if there's I don't even know if there's a yard of sand.
It's not much. They did it mainly over around by the bridge in
Yeah.
that corner.
Oh, you mean where they did this, the picking up of the sand?
Yeah.
Right.
And they asked if they could dump it
Yeah,
off?
so
Oh,
they
okay,
swept it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
that's
they
kind of
did.
where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know your roads better than anybody sitting here. And I mean, that's kind of, is there a reason, is there something we're missing that, you know, I don't.
Well, no, I mean, if you gotta get a hold of somebody that's got a sweeper.
You know,
You
I
gotta
don't
set
even,
it.
yeah.
I don't see the need.
So the
Yeah.
other day, the other day, a young man that is a friend of Russell's, he's got a street streamer. And he's got it for sale, and he wanted to take a video of it to sell it. So I called up Phil, and he went down to the safety building, and he came to the town hall,
That's right.
and he swept that for nothing to take the video of it, got it all nice and clean, and then the following Saturday, it snowed and we sanded everything again. Right?
Yeah, you did.
But, yeah, I think we covered that.
Yeah, I think we're,
So,
So it basically just doesn't ever make sense here.
Yeah.
well,
Not at
if
this
the money, if
Not
you got
here.
the money in the budget,
Unless there's a specific spot that conservation
Right.
thinks like really needs to not have it go there,
Well,
then we just
exactly.
really shouldn't worry about it.
there are conflicting needs unless
Right.
an actual point where we're not seeing,
And
all of us.
then-
Yeah, that's why I was asking the
and
question.
then
No, you asked
another-
me, yeah.
the other day, so when we go coal patching, you fill the hole in, and then you take the shovel over into the ditch, on the tar, on the side of the tar, into the ditch to get a shovel full of dirt, sand, to put on the tar on the coal patch, so when the car comes over, it doesn't get attached to the tire and clings to the bottom of the car. And I'll take you with me tomorrow coal patching, and I'll have you find some sand to put in the holes, and it's like, where's all the sand?
Point taken. All right.
Yeah.
So,
We just asked the question. Sometimes,
Well, I don't know, John, I think Dave did.
sometimes questions, you know. But it's a good question, but you explained it very well.
Yeah.
That's why I've never asked the question.
no,
I get it,
anything can be done.
yeah.
If you got the money to pay the bill at the end of the day, and you're not taking away from something that needs to be done real bad.
All right, anything else for Rose?
No.
Hey, it's your turn.
We can do that. So,
He's
as
done already.
of 4/24, we had spent 103,191.69 of our budget. We got 70.81% remaining, so we're in good shape. From the 1st to the 30th, we had 59 motor vehicle stops, summonses equaled $312. It'd be nice if it came to us, but it don't. We had 38 calls for service, not including calls that we generate on our own. But they're the typical calls. I mean, we ended up dispatching a few animals, had a few deer that hit. Matter of fact, there's another one up the road that the state's supposed to pick up by the town line, Salisbury. Department information we receive, usually from another department and disseminated. Mental health issues, we had a few calls for that. Motor vehicle complaints, that's nonstop. We get those on almost a daily basis. A couple of motor vehicle accidents, which turned out to be the animals. Pistol permits, road hazards, usually trees down. We end up moving them out of the way. Suspicious activities, phone calls from people to see what's, they see a car someplace or see somebody walking that they don't know. Same with suspicious vehicles, it all works out the same. Assist to the fire and EMS, because we go to almost every single call that we can go for them.
Thank you.
Vacant house checks, we do a number of those constantly. Welfare checks, people call up and say they can't get a hold of their relative or whatever, we go over and check on them. Assist to other agencies, quite common, it works out both ways. Assist to citizens, motor vehicle complaints, usually their car won't start or whatever, we help them. Animal complaints, one theft from a building and a couple of trespassing on properties where people were wandering through the woods. Other than that, it was a fairly quiet month, which I was pretty happy about. Real happy about our new female employee. Anna's doing a great job. I think she's gonna be a huge asset to us. I know you guys got to meet her the other night. I think she'll do us real good.
And I will say that she's already won fans of most of the kids by
Oh, yeah.
going over to the
She-
school several times too.
She's been going to the school, every time she works, she goes, and she can't wait to teach, because they have two programs in the state. They have DARE program and a LEAD, it's called LEAD, it's similar to a DARE. She's LEAD certified, so I'm gonna send her to DARE school, have her pick which one's the better of the two, because she's not familiar with Dare, and she's gonna teach it at the school, so she'll do House and Salisbury.
She was here the other night, and obviously I know her, but it was just nice to see her in the environment with everybody, number one. She was extremely very professional, but very friendly too. It was also nice to look outside my window the other night and see blue lights on a Webster police car stopping a car going too fast. And, well, I'm gonna be very sincere.
Especially on your road, right?
That's what I was thinking, right?
You know, you've heard me, and I've said it publicly.
They never go
I
fast.
applaud you for getting her on board, you've heard me say that, and she's doing a very professional job, and I'm very impressed. Now, I don't wanna go on and on, but I mean, I'm just saying, I looked out, and I appreciate it, so.
Yeah, we had a medical call there Sunday. Yeah, and, she came in, big smile on, happy, yeah, it's a good kid.
She'll do good. She's got
Yeah.
4 years on the job, so she's not new by any means, and she can handle herself. She'll do a great job.
Appears and looks very professional.
She's not afraid of anything either.
She was here for Dee's party Sunday night,
Yep.
visited, went outside and played with the kids. You know, the kids come in, just, when can we go, when can you go? And she said, we play hide and seek all the time, and they won't let me be the bad guy. So, she just couldn't wait to go out
A
and
very
play with
nice
those
asset,
kids in the
yeah.
parking lot.
Yeah.
After speaking with the adults in here, so,
Very professional.
very nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Good to hear that, and I'll relay that to her.
God damn it, you better.
Oh, yeah.
So, speaking of your desire to have the ability to keep fines, obviously there are a couple fines that we can. For example, when it's overweight going over a bridge, which thankfully our bridge is being fixed, so that won't be a problem
We
anymore.
got a couple of them though for overweight because of the road signs.
Hmm.
We got a few of those. They were $250 at a whack.
But also, where are we with the road safety committee and being able to affirm speed limit decisions to put up the replacement and/or new signs?
So speed limit, it depends
if-
on in town.
Right.
The problem we have is the major thoroughfares, state roads, we have no control over them. Powder Plains Road, we have no control over. Tyler Road, we have no control over. In-town services, the state does not want you to collect for it, because then you turn into a money-making machine. I've had that conversation.
Collect for what? What do you mean collect for?
So, there's a few states down south that used to have, every town had their own fine system. So they would write tickets, because all that money was generated, went right back to the town. Well, you couldn't drive through there at 1 mile an hour over the speed limit without getting a ticket, no matter what. And it was, you pay the ticket now, or you go to jail and see the judge until you do pay the ticket. There's no, you don't leave and send it in by mail, it's, you pay it right here and right now.
So you're referring to, David, maybe this is a misunderstanding, right? And Steve's right what he's saying, but are you referring to taking an evaluation of some of these roads in town? I think that's what we talked about initially with this committee. Does this committee exist? Do we have a committee?
We're trying to get, so we can regulate some of the speed limit signs.
That's what I'm,
Because we
that's
had-
what I'm.
Trying to slow some of it down.
Yeah.
And one of the, so kind of where this started from was ordering replacement speed limit signs for Lake Road. And then not being able to confirm and know that that was actually the speed limit that was set there.
Right.
And then we've also had conversations around some of the worries about traffic calming and similar with the new bridge and some of the immediate and adjacent properties and roads.
And Pillsbury Lake.
And
Pillsbury
also
Lake was
in Pillsbury
a big one.
Lake,
Yeah.
where a specific property tends to generate lots of people speeding to and from it.
Oh, yeah.
And so those things, and then I believe it was also brought up, there's a couple stop signs that maybe we should have and maybe we shouldn't have.
A couple of roads that should be local traffic only.
Right, and so those are the sorts of things that, you know, please go further into this and make those decisions with the committee, so that then we as a board can go vote on that and say, yes, now we actually have all the proper
Right.
documentation to say it is the way that we've always thought it was.
So being that you've got some new staff, and being that you've got some, hopefully some time, what do you see as a appropriate time element for you to get together with everybody you need to get together with? And
I
make
think I can have a
recommendation?
list for you by our next meeting, easily. But Emmett's already replaced some of the stop signs that were pretty well worn, that you couldn't read them. He's fixed those.
Is that enough
There.
time for you?
Oh, yeah. I think, I mean, I got some ideas on some of the stop signs that should be taken out, especially Dingett's Corner. I mean,
There's not necessary.
there's a few of those that are
Agreed.
not necessary. I mean, coming off from Pleasant Street, absolutely.
Yeah,
But the other two, no.
And roads that maybe you and Emmett and whoever else is on the committee might want to think about should be local traffic only, if that makes sense to you.
I mean, can you think of something that
No
you
big
think
trucks
is?
or whatever.
What's that?
Which ones are you referring to?
Well, to be honest with you, there's a lot of traffic up around people riding bicycles, people walking dogs, up around Emmett's Road, okay? The other road that goes down, help my brain here tonight.
Pleasant Street?
Pleasant Street, yeah. There probably are other roads, I don't know down around the lake, maybe there's some places.
It would be nice to see local traffic only on Allen Road.
Yep,
Keep people, if they're gonna use the bypass, because now they have to go around because of the bridge, I don't know why they'll come down Long Street and go right past Pleasant Street and take a left and go down and then go down Allen Road.
I mean, you've got.
I've
yep.
watched them do it, I've followed them do
You've
it.
got little kids
To
on
go to
Allen
Pleasant
Road, you know, you've
I don't
got
know
activity
why.
down there, people running, walking, you've got people walking dogs. I mean, we'll walk a dog down there, our dog down there, and we'll bump into 4 or 5 other people walking dogs. And without exaggeration, you've got cars going by there 40, 50 miles an hour on a 25-mile-per-hour road.
Allen Road and Pleasant Street are probably the two biggest walking roads in
Yep.
town
You've got a lot of that
that I
traffic.
see.
And I mean, I realize probably where you live, you don't see it, and I would assume down by the lake, or the other lake, there's maybe that
I
type
don't
of
see as
issue.
many people down there. There's more in this area.
Yeah.
And it's just the people, local people live there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people from Pillsbury Lake that will come up and walk all the way out to the bridge.
Well, I was down
Yes.
there riding around the other day, and I saw, riding around, went to the dump, came back the back way, and it was Saturday morning, there were many people walking. I was surprised, it was a very windy day, but I'm thinking, my gosh, you know, this is another area that, when we talk about this.
Pillsbury Lake community, they're always
We,
down there
we have
walking their
many
dogs.
runners, many
Yeah,
walkers,
I know
many
you do,
bikers
yeah.
on the road
I
all
think
the
we need to
time.
be more conscientious of that than we are, and I'm gonna be very frank with it, I think we should be. I know you try to do it, but now staffing is, you know what I'm trying to say, and
It's hard to stop local traffic only in like the Pillsbury area,
Right.
Pillsbury Lake area, because it's,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much stuff that has to go down there.
but I think there are some areas that,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
especially like a small road.
Yeah.
Allen Road is one of them.
there's no need cutting through there, coming down through there 45, 50 miles an hour.
To get to Pleasant Street, when they
No.
can just go up and take the
Point
tar
out,
road and
yeah.
go
And it
around.
rips the heck out of the road certain times of the year, so.
That would be a great idea. Get down Pleasant Street, it's tar, it's smoother,
Yeah.
well,
So-
maybe not.
So are you expecting that you'll give us a list, or that you'll have the
I'll have a
committee?
list for you of the roads that I
Or that
think.
the committee will have
And,
given us a list for
We
the
can go-
next?
I'll get with them and we'll figure out something that we need and what we think might be best, and then have you guys look at it.
And not being critical, because
You guys ride the roads as much as we do, so you see them.
Well, I think one of the things would be that we're looking for it to come from committee, not one or two and then just one or two of us, because that way it's looked at and then addressed by the committee and sent to us so that we can say, yeah, we're adopting the committee's recommendations after everyone's appropriately looked at. And that way, it has the multiple levels that it deserves.
Sure.
Do you need a select board on a committee, or fire chief, road agent, police chief? I know you need one person from
Sure,
town.
somebody from the select board. I think we should nominate John.
You nominate, I used to
Only
do that.
because-
it seems like John gets nominated for some things on that.
John walks a lot.
No, I'm very, you know,
And your wife walks
one of
a
my
lot.
agendas was supporting public safety, and I support you too wholeheartedly in your departments. But you know, there are some things in town we haven't addressed. You know, we've had staffing issues, we've had many issues have gotten in the way, but I think time is here, and I would recommend highly we get a citizen on the committee, or two, you know, because not everything we see is always, we see it from a whole different genre, and I do sometimes, I see it from a different genre. But I'm happy to help, but I don't wanna stick my nose in the salt.
What about you, Mr. Lampron?
You're looking at me.
You happen to be here.
That'll teach you.
I would offer 2 citizens, gentlemen, if we could, you know, so
Yeah.
we're balanced, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And you're the chairman, you
Definitely someone that we see running or walking quite often, and I see him every morning, so I'll stop and ask a few of them, I'll talk to them. Maybe I can get somebody that'll
Yeah,
volunteer.
but you might not want, you might want a big old burly truck driver, you might not.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, but I mean, one
One
for
trying to
that,
make a living other than somebody that's using the road for,
well, one that's walking and one that's driving through.
cause the guy that's driving that tractor trailer is paying a few $1,000s a year to be able to make that thing go up and down the road. I mean, there's different ways to look at stuff.
Well,
I mean,
point made.
No,
You're right.
you just can't have 2 people that are using that road jogging to be on the committee. I mean,
Cause they're gonna want it closed.
that's.
Yeah, and the key and one of the reasons for having it be committee first is that it's not just like my pet or favorite road, it's, this is how we're gonna look at the road system, and these are the places that we need to either reaffirm or adjust speed limits, these are the places that we need to consider other things, and around town, not just the 1 or 2 places that, you know, are favorite places.
Cause if I had my way about it, right at the cemetery where our land stops, it'd be a berm of dirt on there that nobody could even walk across or even drive across.
But can I make, you made a good point, and if I can say this, I think you gentlemen should pick your committee members. If you'd like me to help, I'm happy to help. And I can point out what I see as a problem, but I think we need to have people in town, I mean, you know your people, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I think you make a good point.
No, and I know, I do, I mean, I look at it, I mean, I enjoy the person that's walking and looking at the nature, and then I know how it needs to be when,
It can be a delicate topic.
Well, and unfortunately, when we talk about bigger vehicles, people think they're going faster a lot of times than they
Mhm.
really are, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Because that's been, and I can attest for riding in one and knowing, thinking, oh, wow, we're only doing this, and people looking at you like, you're doing that.
because when you're standing here in the morning, and the school bus is coming by, and if you're no further away than you are, and you'd swear that he was coming through the corner of the house, and you, holy shit, he's going 50, but he really not. It's just the size of the bus.
Yeah.
But
But I have seen cars in that road.
I think he was in his bathroom, people.
I think, anyway.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, does that sound complicated? You know, you guys pick your people, and
oh,
I'm happy to go out and give you my opinion, and, which I'm not too afraid to do, but you know what I'm saying? It's,
Yeah, we'll wait and Phil will be back,
We'll get us together and come up with
and
something.
we'll figure out something, and
but you should have a truck driver, you're right. And,
Yep.
or I
you're right.
try to be fair. Not everybody agrees with me, but
Is that
Yeah,
meet your bill?
I just, we've talked about it for many
Oh, we've
months,
kicked the can
so-
down the road a lot.
So I just want us to actually do these things now that we're coming into
Very
the
good
summer
direction.
times when we can.
Thank you.
yeah, because there's some signs that could be upgraded, and there's some that could go away, and then there's some yield signs on one side that could be swapped
Yeah.
around that we tried to
Yeah.
do a few years back,
Yeah.
but nobody worked with us.
Yeah,
The intersection over near Roy Fanjoy's house, that seems to be a very complicated situation.
Well, sometimes when you do something like that too, this is just my opinion, it is make it that much more complicated, and to some degree makes it more unsafe. When you
Just
have
because it's
so many,
different.
so many stops and so many,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? You know, if you do that road a lot and you think, cause where there is that one stop sign, I don't care who you, well, maybe somebody agrees with it, it's the silliest thing I've ever.
Well, you're
heard.
agreeing with what I'm saying, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, you see what I'm saying?
I'm not saying the stop sign should be there, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I come up to it
It
and say,
makes
where
it
should
too
I?
confusing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I do think sometimes confusion
Yeah, no, I
in
don't
a situation
disagree.
like that can make it actually more unsafe.
Is there an optional alternative, or should it be there at all?
No, I just think you ought to
I
go
thought
right
we,
ahead.
and I still think, and I wish we go back in minutes, I swear to God, we voted, get that stop sign out of there, but
We did. We did.
that's what I remember, cause it
You're
was the
right.
one time I was like, cause I
Because-
just think it's not a good idea.
What we need to do is go down there with and get rid of them rocks.
Okay, okay.
You're right. Them rocks need to go.
Well, true, but they're good, like you say, we only wanna spend so much money on certain things, so.
But that gets back to knowing your roads. You know your roads, you know what the obstacle is, and what the danger is.
And, I mean, it's just, you'd be better off to take the stop signs down and put some 15-mile-an-hour, just to slow them up a little bit, some slow, but the signs are only as good as the people that are paying attention.
That's right.
Well, that's right, and sometimes that's where it can be,
Yeah.
why sometimes too many of them is not a good thing either.
And-
While we're on that topic, where is our electronic speed sign? Is there some support we need to give you for that, or what is going on?
That is at the dam right at the moment, because we have to get somebody to come out and look at it. There's something inside that's not working properly.
Can we-
Some electronic parts.
What do you-
Phil's gotten a hold of them,
Okay.
and we're waiting for them to get back to us of when they can come out here and look at it.
That's a Webster unit, right, or is it shared?
No, that's a
With
shared
Hopkins.
unit.
Shared, okay.
Right?
Bosquen.
Oh, Boston.
And Warner.
Are we sharing?
And Warner.
Oh,
Hoffman
okay.
and Warner.
So now, we don't
So-
share one with Hoppy then? How
Um,
did I think that?
but Bosquen has their own now. And they,
So we don't have to
they
share anymore?
they purchased a bunch of the small street signs, the electronic street
Well,
signs.
you put that,
How much do they cost?
$2,500 to $3,500 a piece.
you put that up on the hill, up near the old town building last year, and I'm gonna tell you, other than the people, as Emmett pointed out, that don't pay attention to signs anyway.
It helps people remind
It
people.
reminds, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I.
Oh,
have a
by the
reminder
way-
once in
Yeah,
a
we had it
while.
on
By the way,
Tyler Road.
my husband would really like to say, and thank you. Cause he sees one over in Antrim. He says, and it reminds me to slow
Yeah.
down. He says, but the fact it says I thank you makes me a little bit happier about doing
Yeah.
it. So I'm just throwing that out there, cause I've heard that like 900 times.
Everybody's,
Yeah.
everybody's input is important.
That's right.
There's
Oh,
one
like,
ball
okay.
that has a smiling face.
Right,
So,
right.
and again, not to be critical, but I think that's a great idea, get that thing.
It worked great when we had it on Tyler Road last year.
But
we had it
support
up
you need,
here.
I would like to thank my colleagues
We
here.
put it on Battle Street a few times.
just
so
like you said, we
we'll move it
remind you.
around.
Yeah, no,
That was
if
a
you
couple
can get
years
that.
ago, we repaired it then, so.
Yeah, we had a problem with the charging system in it. They replaced the charging unit in it. But this is something else. It won't, for some reason, it won't pick up the speed.
Yeah, you could put it right out my window where I stand there and watch the
Then you'll see blue light.
cars come by in the morning, then I can see how fast the bus is going.
We
Well-
can give you that because Roy Fanjoy complained.
Yep.
And we said, okay, here we go. We got a handheld radar unit. Here you go. He went down there, sat in his truck, and he was hitting every car that went by. He goes, wow, I thought they were doing 50, but they were doing 28, 25.
Yeah.
It just looks like they're going fast. Because they're zipping around the curves.
And most of them, if you don't have your eyes open, you're not gonna hear them.
No.
Well, maybe that sign, if you can't get it fixed, probably you can, but if you can't, it's time for us to have another discussion and support you on getting a thank you sign along with the speed.
Oh, please. Never hear the end.
We'll have thank you on top and the speed limit underneath.
Yeah, right.
Yes, thank you for not speeding.
Stop at the cop shop and pay your fine, it's due.
Little creativity in Webster doesn't hurt. But anyway, I'm sorry.
All right.
Thank you for doing that.
Yes,
Absolutely.
thank you. I think we've got a good path forward for both of these topics. So that
A
covers
month.
department heads
Sure,
unless
we
there's
can do that.
others? No. All right, so that moves us on to our old business, the first of which is the perambulation with Boscawen.
At the last meeting, you discussed that,
striking off
and you
the whole-
discussed
Are you-
maybe
are you-
asking the Conservation Commission or the Historical Society.
Thanks, guys.
One of
Thank you.
which is
Thank you,
you.
thank you. Have a good
They're not
night.
interested.
Okay.
And I understand it.
Yeah.
It's a difficult type of thing. I know Marlo had mentioned that she might be willing, and I'd be willing to do it if not. It is a little, and I was reading the last one that was done. It does look a little more complicated than
Salisbury.
Salisbury.
Yeah, because we could drive to those. That's probably why I was so
Right,
like,
yeah.
oh. And it was just fun to meet the guy that knew where everything was.
And a
Because it's
lot
kind
of
of
it-
cool. I never
I had
knew
to
about
smile a
it.
little bit. How long is that? About a mile.
And I think this is something that was maybe more important years and years ago. Now, but still on the books. Bosquen has a lot of water between us and that.
So you have to swim across to them?
Yeah.
Somebody gets to go down low.
Yeah. Who's got their diving license?
Yeah, you know, put on the.
Got my
and
kayak.
walk along the bottom of the lake.
Yeah.
So nobody on the historic societies we kinda talked about wanted to do it?
No,
Okay.
no.
Or
And
the,
I,
or the Concom.
But I think it's good we threw it out
Yeah.
to consideration, yeah.
and I think it's, you have to consider the,
Yeah, no, I,
You know.
yeah, no, I understand. And
We'll just rotate them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys are gonna do it, good.
I mean, so I'll inform Bosquen that we have a few victims
Okay.
with that.
Okay.
So maybe I'll work with Marlo on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
fine.
Is there anything else that we need to cover on that, or are we good?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that moves us on to the next topic of old business, which was SB 297.
Well, I have fallen down on my job in getting anyone from Health Trust to come talk to you. But they did put out an updated letter, on April 23rd, which I provided to you. And it just talks where they stand on it. And I know you had the letters from, Secretary of State,
Yeah, you gave us those last time.
which was in your last thing, so whether this helps you or not, I hope it does.
But you just move that folder right over to there.
You know,
Okay.
Did you notice?
Yeah, I like that.
That way I don't have to look at it again.
Dave?
I'm not sure you're gonna get any, it was a nice suggestion, maybe I made it, somebody else did, but I'm not sure you're gonna get anybody up here, but I know with, having been at the training for the New Hampshire Municipal, and you and I had the opportunity here, I think I brought it up to talk about that.
Mhm.
What was it, 2 weeks ago?
You went a couple weeks ago.
Couple, I'm going
Yeah.
tomorrow too,
You went to the hard road.
That's a good one.
to the public,
Yeah, the hard road to.
yeah.
It's gonna
yeah,
come up a
follow.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. That's a
That,
very
the
good
health trust
That's a
will?
very-
No, the hard road to travel,
Oh.
and learning about all the road designations and all of
Uh-huh.
that.
yeah.
You wouldn't think that'd be a top thing on select board meetings, but it usually is.
But no, I'm not sure, all your efforts, I'm not sure you're gonna get somebody. I think this thing is gonna be New Hampshire Municipal Association advocating for the communities.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing the municipal association at all, I'm just.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying.
Being realistic.
It's a fight they're all gonna have, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know, yeah.
So that's all I had to offer you on that.
So I guess the question then, is, does this change our mind on wanting to do anything, or do we still think, well, it's an important topic that we should monitor as opposed to try to say anything or intervene?
I trust Dana's oversight of what is going on and keeping us involved. I mean, you've dealt with these things all your career, so I mean, you tell us, what do you think?
Well,
Well, this is new, maybe.
I think this is fairly new,
Yeah.
because this is something that, to me, I'm not convinced that either side is correct. I guess
I'm with you, I'm hearing you.
You know,
Yeah.
I wish I thought there was one over the other, and I understand where the health trust is coming from, and I certainly want the insurance,
Right.
and I don't wanna see that, something happen to it, and I don't want the town to get stuck in a situation with having to come up with more, even though for Webster it probably wouldn't affect us much, but still, come up with more funds to build the reserves,
Well, I think we're all responsible for Webster, so I like the way you're thinking on that.
you know.
Yeah.
However, I respect the Secretary of State, and, The actuary, is all a great thing. However, sometimes there's a thing of, what's realistic for the people.
It's common sense.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, that's still around?
Just like us with actuarially deciding the
Yeah.
future in employment payouts or something.
Every year we get dinged for that. And really, right now, we have, well, I guess we have 4 people that it involves for the whole town, so.
I like to think of with actuary studies as weather people. Because it's just a big guess. I mean, they take some facts, they
Yeah.
throw it in a pot and shake it up and,
Well, we just had a retirement, we're having a retirement. We're probably gonna see another one down the road in the very near future, so.
Yeah.
I would assume we're looking at that pre-forecasting.
You know, and every year, they ask me to calculate for them how much
Mhm.
we'd be on the hook for.
Mhm.
And realistically speaking, it isn't
No,
a thing that scares me.
I mean, you deal with this every day, and that's what I'm saying to you, is
Yeah.
that trusting your judgment, but if something spurs up, we
Right,
probably should, you know.
right.
Well, and part of that is also how we manage it. So, yes, we could actuarially hire somebody and spend a bunch of money to do that, to try and pin down to the cent, something. Whereas typically when people are leaving service in the town, we tend to give them a gift or something anyway, we thank them for their service, et cetera. And even in the case of, and I won't say names, but the board will, I'm sure, know who I'm talking about. Even in cases where someone's been employed for a very long time and has built up a substantial amount that they may get paid out during a retirement. That's why we have a combination of 2 ways to handle that. One is we do have a fund that has been built up to a number that is approximated with Dana and company during every budget year. And then we also, if they're not retiring on, say, December 31st, anything that's not used in their salary line, up until the next hire, that portion's available too. So we're kind of doubly protected to make sure that as long as everybody doesn't all of a sudden retire at the same time on, say December 15th or something, so we have to pay them before the next
Yeah.
budget, we're pretty well covered.
No, it's a good
anyway.
overview, I appreciate that.
So,
I
but
expect
yes.
no less from you, Dave.
Any other questions there? Okay.
No.
So moving on to the bridge replacement update.
Well, Emmett told you, he's been working with the guys down there. I went down, last week for, we have a bridge meeting every 2 weeks. And the meetings are usually very short, cause there's not a lot issues.
Cause it's
that-
going well.
Because it's going well. So,
Which is really nice.
I think
It's like White Plains did,
it
right?
really is nice. I've worked with projects before that weren't so much. And I think that the engineer, the construction engineer, and the contractor work very well together. And they're very open to listening to what you might have to say. We did have a little request on Frost Lane, because garbage trucks, trash trucks, and a propane delivery felt they couldn't wind their way in there, and so they moved their equipment, so they got in. I don't know if that is true or not, but
Well, they worked
that's
together and got
about-
it done.
it's done anyway. I wanted to give you a little financial background with this, of where we stand currently in, this is the construction phase.
Yeah, how's the money going?
Well, that's what I wanna tell you.
It's going wonderful?
It's going fast.
God, really, welcome to my world.
Yeah. So for the construction phase, we've spent just under $600,000 so far. Cold River Bridges, is the majority of that. We just paid a bill, well, actually, it will be in the next run, $358,000. The VHB construction support, we've got almost 16,000, and the construction engineer, 74,000. So I've been using the bridge fund, although after all is said and done, that fund will be down to 43,000. So I'm going to be hitting fund balance, very shortly.
Might I suggest that since we do have the additional 50,000 expected to go into that fund, but no specific bridge or project being saved for afterwards, that go ahead and basically drain it, and then we'll put in the 50,000 towards the end of the year when we need it,
Yeah, and usually,
because that'll give us that buffer.
I was thinking that too, because I don't really have, I don't wanna be, I'm cautious when I get down to a certain amount of what we have for balance, and I'm not worried that we're not gonna get paid back for it. Right now, the request that we have in is 68,000. The next one will be a lot bigger, and, I don't really wanna I don't wanna spend the 50,000 if I don't have to.
68,000 to the state, sorry, Dave.
Well, these are the ones that we've been able to claim so far are some of the Wright Pierce ones, two of the Wright Pierce ones, and the first Cold River bridges, so I think
Okay.
it's, and then the VHBs.
I didn't mean to interrupt you,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, so that was the first of the ones to request reimbursement.
That was the first of the ones, so.
Did we get back the reimbursements from the state for the 80% of all of our previous engineering yet?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's on my subject.
Okay.
That is our next project to start claiming it. We've just been allowed to start claiming it. Paul King is gonna help me from trustees of trust funds, because the way we pay through trust funds complicates it a little bit. And only to the sense that I've got a lot of paperwork that I need
To
from them.
find the right, yeah.
Which, it does take time to put together. So,
Okay.
but yes, we're owed, I should have brought that
And
with me, maybe I did. Maybe. I think it was something like, we have 380,000 coming from that. Which is the, 80% that the state's guaranteeing.
And how have we, or how do we expect the reimbursement timeline to actually be honored and kept? Like, are we expecting, have they told us, okay, you'll see this by?
Okay, so
Certain
you're asking, how long will it take to?
Yeah, so like, for
Yeah.
example, you already put one in.
Well, like
Have
300
we seen it,
something,
or
right?
when are we expected to see it?
The first one has just gone in because it's taken a little while to get it, the process
And
set
how
up.
much was the first one? Is it the 5?
68,000, so it's,
68,000.
it's actually this 15,900 from VHB, the first two invoices from Wright Pierce, and the first invoice from Cold River. I think I'm close to 60, whatever thousand
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
okay.
And I don't think it's gonna take long, once we have a system going,
But they can't tell you that.
they don't really tell you, but probably 3 weeks,
Okay.
something like that,
30 days.
you know?
As long as it's like in that reasonable time
Right.
frame, and we can actually start counting on it.
And I think I'll start chipping on the actual design engineer, because that goes back to 2019. So, I thought it might be easier if I just did it
By year.
by year, and I'll probably have no more than 12 for each year. And I have all the bills, but I need copies of all the checks that were written that prove that it's paid. Once I get up to 23, when we started changing how we did it, that's quite easy. to pull that stuff.
You mentioned a design engineer, and with COVID and everything else that happened, I know this thing's been going on for years, and there were a couple who is the actual design engineer that?
VHB, Van Ness,
Okay.
Hanlon,
Yeah,
Luskin.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just curious.
And it's, yeah, they're still involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're still involved, now they're in there. I've been reading contracts, and I have to admit, I've learned a lot of understanding all the contracts and how they have their cost over, you know, what they have for profit, and then you pay for their office staff, it's like 177%, and, you know, it's scary.
No, I know we went through an engineering crisis there, so.
I think that before I came, the
Yep.
town had a different engineer.
Yeah, and again, not being critical, I'm just
Yeah,
saying that,
yeah,
just curious.
We don't wanna talk about that.
yeah, okay, we won't.
Can you move on?
I have been told.
And we weren't all here, so there's no point in it. So we can't get late.
Okay,
No, you weren't, yeah.
so I think
No,
that
sir.
basically covers the bridge. New business, a fee schedule update.
I'm gonna let Russ speak
I
about that.
was going through some projects and permitting, and I came to the realization we haven't updated the fee schedule since I started working here, and I think it's about time.
I thought we did that, I thought we talked about that.
Yeah, it was about, I think the last time we did it was 4 years ago. Was the last time we did the fee schedule. And then I had talked about maybe reassessing the permit fees for building permits. But then I came to the conclusion, when I had to issue a floodplain permit and there's no floodplain permit fee, then it might be a good time to just look at the whole thing and pull it together. So I was just hoping to get the board's consent
Definitely.
to start pulling it together.
You'll pull it
and
together and then give us it.
Give you
Okay.
these fee
You would-
schedules.
Okay, okay.
Suggest.
I-
And then
I
we would
did-
have to
yes,
schedule a
thank you,
public
'cause I was like,
hearing.
I
Then you
remember
do that in the
that.
memo and
Yeah,
to the board of selectmen and
Yeah.
put your recommendations down.
Yeah.
Right, cause I'm,
Okay.
I'm gonna come up with some
Just ask
math
it,
and
yeah.
costs and.
We were all thinking the same thing.
Yep.
Cause I'm like, I'd wanna see it first, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna go up that much. I think our inspections are priced fine. I think one of the things I really wanna look at is, one, making sure we have a floodplain permit cost, cause that took me 2 weeks of my time to pull that together.
Yeah,
For the person to get all the documents and all the conversations I had to have. It's not free. There's time that's consumed to make that.
Right.
And I think my other concern is with the building permits. Some people don't ask for the bare minimum inspections, and some people are calling the office every day for the inspector to come out. And I really need to, you know,
I think it'd be
Because it-
good if you could prepare,
right,
you know, something that you could give the board and,
So I wanna
because
take a
you
look
know a lot of reasons why you're thinking this.
And we should easily be able to have in our, you know, when we're doing an approval, that, like, on that same form, on that same paper, covered are these
Many.
particular, no,
right.
these particular.
But sometimes they do different sections of the
Inspections that you
house at
must
different
get.
times. So it kind of comes down to,
definitely shouldn't, it should be a certain amount.
Yeah.
Yeah,
These are
just
required.
every
and that's
day.
how I had it
Maximum number.
planned.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
kinda
think
crazy.
there's some conversations that need to happen with builders at the beginning of the project, that this is when you're expected to come out.
Yeah.
And I did have that conversation with one of the builders that was asking for a lot of inspections. I was like, we really only budget for these inspections, and these are the only inspections the town is expecting from you.
And let's bet it has something to do with the payment from the bank,
Yeah.
most likely.
It's just a matter of, a lot of builders work with different towns, and different towns have different rules, so they have expectations.
Yeah, right, too, then when they're gonna get paid,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a good idea. Have you had a response to the code enforcement position posting?
I have not looked at, Dana's the one who gets it, responded to his email.
I haven't, no,
Just curious.
no, I haven't.
That's been out there for what, a couple of weeks now, right, guys?
I think it's
been-
1 week.
1 week, yeah?
When, I
went
believe
at the
it's
be-
before, is it right before the next select board meeting is the deadline?
I think it's after the next select board meeting, it's before the first select board meeting of next month.
Of
And just
June.
so you know, I
June.
tried to do a little recruiting for it. I have a very good contractor that does a great job, works for me, and I happened to mention it. He thought he might have a person interested. I didn't hear back from that person, but, you know, I put it out there, I think, you know, so.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can get the right person who wants just a couple more extra hours a week
Yeah.
and, you know.
I agree.
Well, it's certainly a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But that was all I wanted
Slowly.
to bring up on that, and I'm hoping to get some
I was
numbers to
thinking
you by
mine.
the end of this month or the end of next
Yeah.
month, depending on how long it takes me to put together.
Sounds good.
I like the positive, it's a step in the right direction, it's like, we're looking for certain places in our company. I'm gonna tell my guy tomorrow, it's a step in the right direction,
Well,
with a smile.
we're looking for
And
it.
he's like, it's a step in the right
Sadly and
direction.
unfortunately, public sector and private sector doesn't mix as well.
And
How's
you
that
can always
sound?
go back in your own office and shut the door.
Oh, wow, trust me.
Well, we, you know, it might be wise on that, if we don't get something before, if we don't get some applicants, maybe extend it out there another 15.
I can always go there and read
You
it.
know,
We'll
what I'm
come
saying?
to you then.
You know, so we do a
see what
fair,
you feel
you
is
know.
right.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Do we have any other new business before going into correspondence?
I don't know if I have new business or if I was gonna ask you in correspondence, but, and I didn't put this on the thing, but may I go into that now? The soccer program that is across the street at the, going up the street, they have asked if they can have signs from their sponsors. They have a lot of sponsors that help them with the cost of the program. They'd like to have signs, be able to hang signs on the shed that they have over there and also the fence that's around the solar array. What do you think about that? And I mean, they're talking about facing the street.
Yeah, my concern with the solar fencing would be size and location. Is if they're like full-size banners and they're hung at the top of the fence, they could actually get in the way of some of the sun. And so that would be bad for us.
Right.
If they're, you know, even a 2-foot tall banner or something and they're basically along the ground, that's not gonna matter at all for that. They might get beat up a lot if somebody's, you know, weed whacking or
I
you know,
had,
doing lawn over there as the school does, but.
the impression that I got, and I certainly could mention it to them, but they would not be any higher than the height of the fence.
Well, right, but even at the top of the fence,
Not worried
the fence is fairly tall. And so even the fence will cast shadows on the panels.
So how about,
But like if they were kept on the bottom half, that would
You're
never
all
be
right
a
with
problem.
that if they-
As far as the solar production, keeping it on the bottom half
Makes
is
sense.
fine.
So it's not getting damaged by whatever mowing is done. I'm glad to hear there's some type of mowing being done over there
the
now.
school does that actually.
Oh, does
for
it?
us.
Yeah.
We have an agreement with them.
But I think it's important to be supportive of their program.
Well, the school does it on the outside. I don't think we have yet anybody
We need to work.
scheduled for the inside.
No, I thought the school would mow where the signs are.
Yes, yes.
Which brings me to the inside, should we look for someone to,
We really do need to come up with a way that that's
Kept
appropriately
up,
kept
yeah.
up and managed. I know that we've, in the past, it's been myself and other people from the energy committee that have come out and done a bunch. Last year, we had somebody that came out and
Mine
donated
did
a
it,
bunch of
yeah.
time to do it. But we really need to find somebody that actually will just maintain it like once or twice a year.
Okay.
Just to make sure that
Keep the poplars up.
it stays maintained as opposed
Okay.
to having to put tons and tons of effort into it, you know, every few years.
let me see what I can do. Hope I can do better than I do with the snow shoveler.
How many signs are they, I mean, what's the array going to look like, I guess?
Well, I honestly don't know if I have a good answer for that.
I'm not
But it would
looking-
be like places like, you know, Ray's Plumbing
Yeah.
and Heating, or, you know, those types of signs. So it's, and I wouldn't imagine that it would be a lot of signs. Because
I think before we make a decision, we need to know like the number and the size of the signs.
okay, Cause they've been wanting an answer immediately, of course, but, so that would put it off another 2 weeks.
Because I'm not against the concept, as long as, like, it's during soccer season. What I don't want is to have a ton of advertisements sitting over there at the school location, around the school location, covering everything with, you know, what some people will consider to be gaudy, bright colors all over the side of what's now a gray shed. So I support the concept.
I mean, I
support-
can have them come in and tell you
Yeah.
what they're thinking. Maybe that's.
I personally don't have a problem with it, as long as
I
maybe
mean,
we
I honestly
set.
don't know the answers to your question.
Right, but as long as we set just some rules, you know,
Well,
like.
and how long are they expecting them to be
Well,
up
I would
for?
say do this as long as that the season is, that they can have them up, and at the end of the season, they need to take them down. And here's how big they can be along the fence, just cause that's what I was thinking at first, I'm like, you get like those banners now, cause they're so easy to order, you know what I mean, and you can't get sun on some of it, then that would, so you would know best of that, where they would have to be there, and as far as the building, it just seems like that's what you see any town you go to. Everybody's got their little sponsorships, and to me, it somewhat shows pride in the sponsoring for your town. So it's not offensive to me, but that's me.
Yeah,
And don't get me wrong, I'm in the same boat with you on that. I'm very supportive of the parents and families in this community. And I think and I guess I kinda look to you on this, okay? I think you're skilled, capable, and experienced to look, as we're saying here, to look at those signs and say, this is good or this isn't good. I mean, Dave, I'd jump right in here with me. I mean, if, I wanna be supportive of it, you know, I think it shows spirit to the community and their program, which is
Shows
quite nice.
involvement.
Well, I think you have some very good points, and I guess, I agree with Marlo, many communities have these types of things. And I do agree that we certainly don't wanna have it affect our solar
right.
production.
I would be curious what, if anything, the school or the similar organization for baseball does, and or softball.
Well, I have not.
Because,
I
you
don't
know,
know.
once you're dealing with it with one, you're dealing with it with all.
That's a very good point.
And so if they're already doing something over there, we could model or copy whatever they're doing.
Well, why don't I find out who they are?
The other thing that I would suggest be considered is, even rather than large banners on, say, the back shed or something of that nature, we have this board where all of the meters are on for the solar right near the entrance, where everyone who's coming to play soccer is gonna drive by it or walk next to it. And if that were a spot to put up, say, one sign that had all of the sponsors on it during the season and then take it down, that would be an easy place to do that. I know we've talked about putting a, like, solar educational thing on it, but I've never gotten around to actually designing that, so.
Okay, so I'm gonna find out about the baseball program, if they're thinking of
And or
signs.
softball, because they may be different.
Which might mean you'd have signs up for those programs too.
Right.
Maybe, yeah.
Right.
And or I don't think they have one for elementary level, but maybe because it's used in the community-wide type stuff, is there also a lacrosse program that plays over there? Or field hockey?
The place is always packed with students in the fall, young people in the fall playing. I've never, really- your point's well taken. I've seen the soccer.
Well, then they're doing it, cause
Yeah.
you have to remind yourself, cause I don't have any kids in school anymore. I'm like, oh, I thought that was in the fall. So it seems like they're doing some spring soccer.
Well, the soccer's, it's expanded this year,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
what they're kind of.
I just think it's nice to be supportive, and I realize that's a.
Place for the kids to go, and
Place
they
for-
need
yeah.
the money to help
Yeah.
it, and if they wanna put some signs up, I also think it as it doesn't, that does not
Yeah.
bother.
It doesn't affect.
As a community.
Exactly.
As a community, it looks like, hey, there's people willing to.
Yep.
You know, and, you know, just like
Isn't
there's
there
the.
is there a fence at the far end? I know there was eventually supposed to be one.
At the soccer field?
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
No, I think they put up the red one every once in
So,
a
I
while,
mean,
we have to go
yeah,
in
snow
ditch,
fence.
but,
It's
right,
snow
snow
fence to keep
fence,
the
yeah.
ball from going.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just a
right.
snow fence, okay.
So I'm thinking maybe futuristically for them, we try to work with them, as we did the parents that came in here 2 or 3 meetings ago. I would offer that maybe we looking down the road to put something up where they can put their, work with them, you know, that's,
Cause like a fence down the end of the soccer field that would A, prevent the ball
Yep.
from going, B, helps with, you know,
Yep.
blow through,
Right.
and then gives them a place to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
you know
to
what
me.
I'm saying, work with them, do something now and then say to them, come up with some ideas for us, so the board can work with you futuristically.
It sounds to me like they're really enhancing their program.
That's great,
Right now.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's
And-
neat to see
yeah.
people down there using, I mean, we're lucky. There's
They-
not a lot of little towns
No, I
that you
agree.
can come
I
down
totally
here
agree
and
with you, yeah.
have lights and,
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
I mean, I get totally what David is saying about one of my pet peeves, of course, is keeping that solar display
yeah,
appropriate and clean,
Yeah.
and you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
I've made that very public, but the other side of me is I wanna support these students and
Yeah.
parents.
Right.
and if we know how far up this fence, sometimes it's nicer than just looking at a fence. She's like, oh, that company, that company, that
Yep.
company.
Yeah, and if it's like the bottom half of
Yeah.
it, like that's fine as far as the solar is concerned. I just don't wanna get into, well, you let the soccer people do it, and now we're field hockey, we wanna
Totally,
do
yeah,
it,
yeah.
and then lacrosse, we wanna do it, and so if
So
there are
put 'em in the
multiple,
room like you do your
Yeah.
children and tell them to work it out. No, it's kidding.
so if there's multiple, we need to know.
Well, you
that.
might be lucky in the same vendors who wanna support.
Yeah, most
one-
likely.
Yeah.
In a small town, I would say I'm not
Or-
speaking
Or
for-
not during the same season.
Point made, yeah. point
So,
made, yeah.
but we kinda need to know
But I
that.
think if Dana
But,
can
um,
monitor it.
I'm all for the concept.
Okay, do you want me to bring that back to you then? This is what, after I have some answers, or do you want me to just see if they go along with your ideas? And I don't mean to press you, but this, you know, time goes.
Oh, we're hearing you. We're hearing
Fast,
you.
2 weeks
You
is
know.
still, yeah.
So I believe the shed is all soccer.
That
So-
does belong to them, yes.
So I don't see any reason for us to prevent them from putting anything on their shed, because it's theirs. The,
Why don't you give them what you think, do you know off the top of your head right now how tall the sign could be?
I would just say halfway up the fence,
Okay,
or below.
so
Yeah.
why couldn't we?
And so I would say, I would be comfortable with allowing Dana to allow up to halfway of the fence, as long as there aren't gonna be competing programs that need the same space
Okay,
at the same time of, you know, the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I agree with you.
okay, so is that, maybe I didn't understand this correctly, sorry, don't mean to belittle this. You were talking about competing for the same space, say at the soccer field. I
Right.
was thinking if you were concerned about signs going over on the baseball, softball
Well,
field.
so the baseball and softball may have a program already in how to handle that. Maybe it costs X amount towards sponsorship or whatever.
Have
And
you
so
ever
we
seen
would
these
wanna
signs
make
on
the
there?
same sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a good idea,
I
but
haven't noticed them.
I've never seen
but-
any.
No,
But
I
maybe
haven't
they
either.
do. I'm sure you can just ask Fred and he'll tell you.
Okay,
Right.
But, if there isn't, if there is, we should model it. If not, then
okay,
as long as we don't have, like, as long as we're able to do the same thing for whatever other sports use the soccer field, I'm fine with it.
I think those are
Okay.
reasonable boundaries, and I think
Right.
putting it in your hands and saying, you know, you
Okay.
kind of, excuse my term, but you kind of manage it, 'cause that's,
I'll
you do.
manage it.
Look how lucky you are over here, I'll tell you.
well, it's a nice public relations thing.
That's it.
Well, I think it's great to support the kids.
Yeah,
And they have been working on the baseball, softball field, so I can see that they've been doing that.
That's wonderful.
I would suggest that I would like one other thing, that not to do before they do that, but I would like a list of all of those companies that are doing the sponsorship, so that we can state them and thank them for supporting
A
our
list of the
kids.
sponsors, okay. Great, okay, thanks. Then, the other thing I have, Mary was cleaning out some things in her office, and she found a directive from a previous board talking about how to handle cemetery, people that buy cemetery plots. And I had brought this question up, and I never really got a good answer of what to do. I know in other places that have been, when you sell a cemetery plot, it goes into the trust fund. We have two trust funds. One is the one that, you know, all we can take out is the interest. And the other is the one that we use for cemetery improvements. So that board made a decision to put the money realized from cemetery lot sales into, I guess the town gets $50 for the paperwork, and the remaining 200 went into the trust fund for the improvements, which is, I guess, probably where most of that money came from in the original. This has not happened since we did it with the latest sale, but all the sales from 2019 through this year have all gone into the town's account, the entire amount.
Oh.
So we have about $1,000 that should have gone into the trust fund.
We need to pay them back.
And so I'm asking, I'm asking if you, well, and of course, once the year is gone, you know, we don't have that money anymore. Well, we have the money, but we don't have the budget. I was wondering if you were thinking of maybe taking $1,000 out of the contingency and putting it into that.
And is this this is not the one that we can only use interest from?
This
Or
is
it
the
is?
other one. This is
Okay.
the other one. The other kicker with this is this might not happen this year because we have to go to the town to put money in trust funds.
So,
Just because we make it confusing as possible.
it does almost nothing in the way of giving you money because of interest rates. But I would say that it would matter if it were going into the interest use only account, because you're buying the plot and then your interest over X number of years should help offset, you know, whatever maintenance. Just putting it into the cemetery maintenance fund, we already vote to do that every year.
Well, this is what the former select board, I'm telling you what they had decided to do.
Okay.
I'm not, you know, I'm not saying it's the best place for it or not, I'm just saying that's what they decided to do. And it has to go, obviously, to deposit into trust funds, it's gotta go to the town.
So is this a memo? that-
How much had we voted to put into it, sorry?
No, you're okay.
This year, I don't remember if we put anything in it. Do you have that in your?
Was this a memo, and this, what interests me is where these memos float to. Was this a memo that, well, bear with me. Was
I
this
know,
a-
I just thought of cute.
We're talking,
Where did this
we're
float
talking
from?
a
No,
memo
no, I
from
mean,
like
all of a sudden we
2011.
pop up with a memo from somebody, and I appreciate you bringing it to us, of course,
Yeah.
but where did the memo go? If this was by some select board, how come it wasn't taken care of by some previous select board, or has it been?
Or
I
turned
mean,
into a
obviously-
policy?
Yeah, turned into a.
I can't
turned
answer
into a
that
policy.
question, I don't know.
No, I'm just curious if you know, yeah, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm trying to
I
say.
do know what
The
you're
floating
saying,
memo,
yeah.
where does it come from? you
I do know, and that's what we've been really working on,
Because it creates problems.
is
you
to
know.
pull all this stuff together,
Yeah,
so we're not.
no, I appreciate that.
That we're surprised, you know?
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong, I'm just,
I'm not, I understand what you're saying.
you know, you make a statement, you sign a memo, and it floats, and.
I probably didn't really word it very
Sorry.
well either.
No, it wasn't you, it's
So
it's my terminology.
that's the one we had actually started discussion this year of using it up and then discontinuing it, since it was being, all of the stuff like the trees and the repairs and stuff were then
But those are
in the future
property
gonna come out of
maintenance, yeah.
municipal property
Yeah.
maintenance.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Also, keep in mind that what one board does doesn't bind another, so. I don't think there's
we might
any argument to say that we owe them back.
Okay.
So I'm less worried about that. I think that the real question would be to have the discussion as we, beforehand, and then as we go into budget season of, is it now low enough that that should be discontinued, or should we be using that instead of municipal property? And then say, well, you're now exempted out of municipal property for. And I don't think we really wanna go there, cause I think we want the flexibility of calling it all municipal property in case something major happens on one.
I think it's not the money in this case, it's not the amount
Right.
of money. I think what I should have made clear, I think what kind of I wanna get to is, what is it we're supposed to do when someone buys a cemetery lot? And John makes a good point, we should really have a policy and have it documented. And it doesn't have to be the same one that a select board back in 2010 or whenever it was decided.
You know, and $250 for, I mean,
Maybe it should be higher.
well,
I'm thinking that's not gonna
I
mow
know,
very many
I-
lawns, but.
I'm not preying on the past here, but I'm just saying that, you know what I'm trying to say, it's very reasonable, okay, very reasonable comparatively, and I think it's nice we do that.
I paid 1,500 for mine.
Well, I was gonna say, would it be interesting what some go for,
And
cause
so
I,
I said to Brenda, I said, what, maybe I should buy them in Webster. She said, oh, you have to live here.
oh,
Great.
Yeah, I mean, where do you wanna die? Yeah. 2 days before you die, you come to Webster, no, I'm just,
We just need to make him work more and he can claim he lives here.
maybe this is another
and
project you wanna take.
by the way, my husband won't let me bury him, cause I'm one of these people, I'm like, you're dead, no, I don't get it.
Well, I'm not trying to make light of it.
Maybe I should bring this back
Well,
toward budget time.
Yeah, and maybe we
come
could
up-
just do a little bit of research if it maybe needs to go up some,
The only, I guess
nothing.
the question would be, right now, we see it as an offset revenue, so it helps taxes a little bit. But, you know, whether it goes into the fund, whether it goes into municipal property maintenance fund when the cemetery improvement fund is no longer there, any of those things are gonna do the same thing as far as taxes are concerned over the long run. Maybe not immediately.
And
but
really,
over
we
the
should
long
have
run.
the cemetery trustees involved.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the only thing that I would see that would make sense for us to worry about trying to do is if we're saying, well, it's $50 towards documentation or whatever, or $100 towards documentation, and then the rest of it would go into the cemetery trust where only the interest is usable. Because then, every time someone buys one, there's a little bit more that comes back forever. Unfortunately, interest on $250 is not very extensive, but that's the only way that it would make sense to me, that we worry about changing it now.
Yeah, I wouldn't get into it.
So,
Okay,
Um,
thank you for that.
I would like to hear those discussions and/or discussions of changing the price from the cemetery trustees. I'd love to have a joint meeting with them at one of our select boards.
I think that's a
board
great
meetings
idea.
before we go, just before we go into budgeting season.
Yeah, okay.
It's been $250 for a number of years, and I'm not looking to prey on those that pass, but, you know, I mean, is it fitting the bill for what?
Well, because it's also very important to a lot of us people
To maintain it, right?
to maintain it right. So,
Right.
and some are all maintained a little different, having family
Yep.
in different towns and on both sides, you see, you know. So no, you don't also wanna do the disjustice of, people buying a plot and thinking it's going to be maintained correctly
Right.
and us not maintain it.
Our cemeteries do look great.
Yeah.
And Nice
No,
job.
Right?
You know,
It's the
so-
taxpayers that's paying for it.
Right, right,
Yeah.
yeah, but you know what I mean, you
Right,
buy,
yeah.
but you
You make
buy
a
the
good-
plot
yeah.
and you think, oh, I'm gonna be well maintained.
Well, it was interesting, because I said that, I asked Dana a few weeks ago, And Kelly and I were walking through the cemetery the other day, and I said, we need to buy that plot before I make a motion to raise the. Just kidding. But, it is,
Yeah.
it's a good conversation to have with the cemetery trustees.
Okay, I'll make a note of that, thank you. Next Tuesday, and I can talk about this in a public session because it's a public case, I'll be at, Merrimack County Superior Court, regarding the Fisher excess money. Which, by the time we're done with legal,
And whether
there
maybe
won't
we
be.
get the dollar that's left over.
And what it is, there's some relatives that have bubbled to the top, very, very distant relatives, and there's a question of whether they're gonna be able to produce what they need to.
What is that all about, Dana?
That's the town sold a property that was owned by a family that there were no relatives
Okay, I
left.
think I remember.
Yeah, I was gonna say, cause I
I'm
think
sorry,
you,
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't even think you thought somebody
Yeah.
sitting next to them somewhere, they probably were not locked up for a little bit, might
Right,
have said,
right,
hey,
yeah,
by the
yeah,
way, when
yeah,
you get
yeah,
out, you know?
yeah.
Kind of a
That
No,
was
no,
a
I
different
remember,
one, I think.
thank you.
Oh,
The
okay.
Fisher was right up here, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that one is the other one that, I don't believe we have names and or a case or anything over, but I know there was a request about, was there,
I would
like,
need to
from
talk to you
legal, it's
about that in
fine?
a non-public,
Okay.
yeah.
Supportively thinking, Russell, have you heard anything on the letters you've sent out?
For the one up the road.
Yeah,
And the one over there.
yes,
That one's going to court next month.
very good.
That one, it appears, and I went by there today, and it does appear they're starting to do a little bit.
I think there's some effort being put in, I think this is again, I've said it once 100 times, again, where what your efforts are trying to do, a little mediation and assistance and direction would go a long way, if you know what I'm saying. But I think there is some changes, and I appreciate it.
agree, because
Yeah.
it looks different
Yeah,
from the
yeah,
last
yeah.
time I drove by.
Yep,
So it
There's some
seems
efforts
like that's
being made.
going in the right
Yep.
direction, and once we get rid of that one,
Yep.
that's good.
well, once an indication of where we have to go, unfortunately, if we don't wanna go there, but we've gotta go there,
Right.
becomes apparent, it sets a tone.
Yeah,
And we don't wanna use that tone in every situation.
right.
I get it, totally, so.
Uh, do you have other correspondence?
You're fortunate, no, I don't.
So I will mention, just for the sake of it, because I see they've been sending it to all of us, that the New Hampshire School Funding Fairness Project reached
Did you have
out.
something from
I
them
wanted to have
Oh,
something.
I was gonna mention that.
I don't think that's a board level decision, but I just wanted to point it out, so if you wanted to go sign it or go read at least what they're talking about, you can. Unless somebody else has read it and feels vehemently that we
We
should
should
have
go
the
too.
discussion.
It was the housing.
Oh, it's the housing one.
The email that you both should have on your Webster email, and Dana was CC'd on as well, has 2 links to Google documents that you can go sign
Okay.
that I believe they intend to present tomorrow morning at the legislature. But the overall is fairfundingnh.org. So I just wanted to make sure that we mention it in case you wanted to look into it further. So that covers correspondence, unless anyone else on the board has
Dave, I
correspondence.
forgot
Yes.
something. This afternoon, you've had previous correspondence on this Concord Area Trust for Community Housing, building a big complex in Warner. It's 48 units, and the Warner Zoning Board of Adjustment determined that it may have potential for regional impact. They're having a meeting on it on the 14th, which is a Thursday, a week from Thursday.
I believe we had
You
suggested
have.
sending that to the planning board and ZBA and such, if they wanted to go make comments or
think you
talk
have,
about
yeah.
it.
Well, I'm gonna go to the planning board,
Yeah,
but
so, do you wanna take that with you tomorrow? Is it, you have
Yeah, I
planning
can-
tomorrow?
we do
Yeah.
have planning tomorrow.
great.
I'll see you again. Thank you.
It's 6:30, right?
6:30.
Tomorrow night, here, right?
Okay, you want me to give it
Right,
to you
same
tomorrow?
one.
Okay.
Yeah,
That'll be my first one, so I'm just gonna
I just wanna make
It'll
sure.
sit
be
back
good
in the
one.
corner and be quiet.
All
Okay,
right.
now I think I'm done, thank you.
So that brings us to public comment, of which we have one. Do you have comment?
Well, if you guys can carry on without me, I think I'll
We
just.
can't.
Well, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah.
Good evening.
I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign.
See you tomorrow, Dean.
Yes.
Okay, so that moves us on to motions and approvals. Do we have any particular approvals other than minutes?
I'll make
Yeah,
a
the
motion to
intent to
approve.
cut.
We have,
I'm sorry, Dana.
If you don't, I'll just go downstairs. and print
no,
it
I
again.
haven't.
Oh, yeah, we have timber and an intent.
This is just for approvals, right? You,
Yeah, these
All
are
of
the
it's
ones that
you.
Marlo's gonna yell at me.
yeah, and all of
I'm
this.
just waiting until you see the
Meetings for
amounts on
apologies.
these.
I don't have anything.
And there should be an intent in there as well.
It's at the end, the bottom.
Yeah, I see it. I'll give you that first.
Okay.
I think that was the response, cause it didn't get cut last year, so they're putting it in.
Oh, yep.
Okay. As that comes out, have you all had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good. That's where I thought you were going on, so.
Five.
I asked him if we had anything else, but,
No, that's
before we went into it, but,
I jumped in.
so I do have, some amendments that need to be made to the minutes. In general, they're okay, but I'll let him be able to mention. Page 2, line 21 of the normal minutes. It says he, and that appears to refer to me at the end of the line, but it was actually Dana that provided the amount of about 1,500 from the health trust thing. So it should just be changed to Dana instead of he. And line 40 of that page, my name is spelled wrong, the last name. And then for the non-public,
You've got already.
the last non-public one, I
It should
believe
be
what we had mentioned.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Sorry. I know, these little formies.
I'll bust this job.
Yeah, yeah.
So I believe what we mentioned was that we wanted to do it as training for all departments on management and professional conduct, rather than the particular phrasing that was there.
Right.
What did I say? Oh, okay. Is that where the board directed the administrator set up
Yes.
for all
Yes.
departments?
Yes, on management and professional conduct.
In person.
Instead of harassment?
And what?
In person,
In person.
yeah. I think we as a board, if we can, should attend there too.
Yep.
If
That makes
that
sense.
works, does that work for you?
I don't know when it
I
is,
was,
but
I was thinking about what I was signing, not really listening. Can we go back to what you just said?
When, in regard to Dave's recommended changes
Yeah.
in the training, which we discussed with Dana. and
Yes, yes,
The four of us discussed last time,
Yes.
five of us, I think.
yes.
I
heard
think,
of it,
I
yeah.
think we should all attend it, so we're all, I realize you have, and I do 2 days a week, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, if we can do it, so we can attend it and be supportive of what we're trying,
Yep,
the overall objective, you know what I'm saying?
yep.
If that makes sense to you.
yeah, making everybody on an even footing and working from the same playbook is a good thing.
Very good. Marlo, you're good with this, right?
Yes.
Okay, where am I signing?
Right above me or below me or any of those lines.
We're next to it, that's
Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Where are you here?
this.
Yeah, right here, okay? All right, good, I just wanna make sure I sign it. If
Oh, there
I'm
it is.
black ink.
It's stuck together there.
Surprised Marlo didn't get me crap about the amounts. Those are usually the ones where you say, oh, they shouldn't even have gotten a bill.
I know, well, right, because they do a lot of that for their own
They
being,
do.
really.
Most of it's just for them.
Marlo signed?
They just give it to their family, that's,
Yes, she did, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. That whole, whatever. I don't
I know, I agree with you, that one's a really small one.
So, while that finishes, I would move that we approve the minutes with the amendments made.
Thanks, sir.
My second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One of those.
Is there
Oh, I left
anything
the folder
for
up
us
there.
to sign or deal with?
No.
I'd just like to say that I thought Dee's event the other night was very, very nice, extremely well deserved,
Yeah,
and
was
everybody seemed to really enjoy it. She enjoyed herself.
Yeah,
That's what-
yeah.
Oh, yeah, she did. She came in today and was saying she was so happy people showed up. She
Yep.
was really emotional
Very nice.
about it.
I'm glad
Very
everybody
nice.
here,
It was a good
Yeah.
event, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you very much to, I believe it was all of her kids
Yeah.
that put it on.
yep, it was very nice.
And she looked awesome in her purple dress.
Yes.
She said, I'm gonna wear a dress because nobody's ever seen me in a dress before.
It was
And
a very
her
fitting,
queen's
very nice.
cap.
Yeah, I know, it was, that right? With the candles.
Yeah, I thought that was cute. But it was nice, very nice.
Anything further, or are we good?
I am going to ask you for a couple short non-public sessions under personnel.
All of them personnel?
They are all, both items of personnel.
Okay. So in that case, I would move that at 8:40, we enter into non-public session for personnel.
That's under 91A3 2A, and you need to do a roll
The
call.
roll call, yeah. Do I have a second?
I do.
All right, roll call.
Marlo, Eric.
Yes.
Yes.
Dave Hemingway, yes.
John Clark? John Clark?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, I
I'm
know.
sorry.
He's like,
And
my
so-
name's John
so
Clark,
that will-
Dave.
Motion signing and yes. Okay. Yes.
That will cover the public session. If we come out of, if we come back into public session from non-public,